Hi there, my name is Raelan. I am going to share today in this video my experience of health crashes with chronic fatigue syndrome. Now, I'm very grateful that I haven't had one in a very long time. I consider myself recovered from ME/CFS, so it's been a couple of years since this has happened. But in the 10 years that I lived with this illness, I had countless. So today I'm going to share what those health crashes were like for me, because I've come to learn that they're not the same for all of us, what I did during those health crashes, and what I needed from other people when those health crashes were happening. All right, so what it's like for me. When I'm in a health crash, one of the biggest things that I feel is that everything is very heavy. My head is incredibly heavy and it's hard to hold it up. And it feels like someone's holding me down. Like I can almost physically feel somebody's hands on my shoulders pushing me down and keeping me pinned down. And there's a heaviness in my chest as well. I can feel like a mass of lead or something that's just sitting inside my chest. It's almost like my body's in some sort of emergency state. It's just gone into overdrive. Usually it's when I've overdone it and I've pushed myself much too far past what my energy limits were, and then this crash happens. So in a way, it probably is like my own body holding me down. It's saying, you're not making the best decisions with your behavior, so I'm just going to pin you down until we resolve whatever is happening in your body. That's just my interpretation. Take it for what it is. I also have a general sort of, malaise, for lack of a better word. It's like poison or something is running through my body. I just feel incredibly sick. A kind of sickness that is just very hard to describe, and it is scary. Health crashes for me are always incredibly scary because how bad I feel scares me. It makes me think, what is happening in my body right now to make me feel this bad? And I think, what have I done to myself? Because of course, I always want to blame myself for being in that situation. I'm scared at the level of how unwell I feel and what that means for me. And I'm also scared that, like, have I pushed too far and I'm just never going to come out of this? There's a scary feeling like how I'm feeling. I might feel that way forever. I'm also scared of every little movement. Every time I have to get up and go to the bathroom, it feels like I'm using so much energy that I don't have. And I'm worried about what that energy usage is going to do to me. And I find I'm also feeling very overwhelmed and emotional. I cry very easily, and overwhelmed doesn't even cut it. The weight of the world is weighing down on me, and I just have no idea how to deal with it. Okay, so second thing that I'm going to share. What do I actually do when I'm in a health crash? And this is in no way meant to be some sort of tutorial. Like, this is what you should do in a health crash, and this is how you get out of it. I wish I had those answers, but I don't. All I can share is my experience, what I did to get through them, the little things that helped me. And I think just getting the conversation going is a really good thing. And I'd love to hear in the comments what you do and what your experiences are. All right, so in a health crash with ME/CFS, this was the only part of it that I wrested my way out of it. Because I found that overall with ME/CFS recovery, rest on its own wasn't going to get me well again. It didn't matter how much I rested. That on its own wasn't going to be enough for me to recover. Rest was a part of recovery, of course, but it was only one part of the equation. But with health crashes, my strategy was almost 100% rest. I felt like I had a fuel tank that was completely empty, nothing left in it, and I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything until I filled that tank back up again. And how I was filling it up was with rest. Of course, things like, drinking enough water and eating healthy food were important, but in a crash, healthy food was no longer the priority. I tried to prepare for these moments, and I would do things like make bigger batches of pureed soups, and I'd freeze them in individual containers in my freezer, because I've come to understand and appreciate that pureed food takes a lot less energy for our body to digest and deal with. So if I had something like that ready to go, or if I could somehow manage to make a smoothie or something, that was the way to go. But in those crashes, the number one priority was energy conservation. So if unhealthy food, junk food was all I had available, then that's what I ate. And just overall, I basically just tried to move as little as possible while distracting myself as much as possible because I knew it was just a waiting game. I had to just wait it out. So I would sleep as much as I possibly could, take as many naps as my body felt like it seemed to need. And then I watched a lot of TV and I would binge watch a series or something. So I didn't even have to think about finding different things to watch, just something where I just went from one to the next to the next. And mostly while I was watching TV, or back and forth, I'd go between, a lot of the time my eyes would be closed because I didn't even have the energy to keep my eyes open to watch what I was watching, but I would listen. And that was enough to keep my mind occupied and distracted and to keep my fears at bay and to keep myself from getting stressed out and depressed and just scared and all of that stuff that I knew was going to put my body in a bad state and not be helpful at all. During these crashes, conversations with others do not exist. Conversations with other people take so much energy. Even listening to other people, I can't even hear about your day. No. Hygiene also doesn't exist. I don't change my clothes until it passes. I don't shower. I don't brush my teeth. I don't brush my hair. None of that matters. It's all about, for me, rest and energy conservation and distraction. That is it. Those are the three things that get me through. And then when I do finally come out of it, when this thing that's holding me down finally starts to lift, it's a bit bizarre. It's like I'm coming out of a bunker and I've been so disconnected from the world and I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, hey, how long was I out? I don't know. Yeah, I just feel really disconnected from the world around me and like I've been gone for an eternity. And I have to be really careful in that time because this is where the discipline comes in, because I don't come out of a crash overnight. It's a slow, gradual process over a few days. And during that time, I'm tempted to want to do stuff because I've been held down for so long. I just want to get up and do all the things that I haven't been able to do. But if I overdo it, I'm going to put myself right back there. So I slowly start bringing back in my self-care stuff, whatever that is, meditation and stretching and healthy food and all of that. But still, rest stays a really big portion of my time until I feel like I'm fully through that crash. And I try and learn from it. Although I don't blame myself for the crash, I do recognize that there are things that contributed to it. So it took some time to get to this point, but I would think always that pain is information and I wanted to learn from it. So what can I do differently in the future to avoid this happening again or minimize how often it happens? Just from a really, neutral place. I always say you're a detective and you're just trying to solve the case. What happened? Or you're an anthropologist, just a scientist, a neutral observer who's looking at this situation and saying, what happened? What led up to that crash? So that at least it didn't all feel like it was for nothing. For me, that was the value for me, that I learned something from it and I felt better equipped moving forward to help prevent this from happening again. Now, what I need from other people when I'm in a crash. Do you know that I never once had a conversation with another human being about what I needed when I was in a crash? How ridiculous is that? So I would say start there. I would never wish this illness on anybody, but when I'm in a crash, I do kind of wish it on other people, but only a very small dose, not even a full day or even an hour. I always just think, whoever the significant people are in my life, I wish we could trade bodies for just 5 minutes. Have 5 minutes in my body right now, and then we'll switch back. And I just feel like it would be such a game changer. One, it would just feel so good to look them in the eye and see that look of, holy freaking crap, I should take you to a hospital. This is how you feel right now? This is insane. There's something just really validating for the people around you to just get it. But we can't do that. So we need to tell them. We need to tell them what we need, and preferably in advance, because we're not going to have the energy during the crash. So for me, in a crash, if there's anyone else around, if I live with someone, I make them do everything. I have zero guilt about being demanding or a burden. If it's get me some water, close the blind, hand me the remote, whatever it is, I make them my slave. I'm very much in survival mode, and this is what I need in those moments. And I think, because we have these crappy names like chronic fatigue syndrome, and just it's a really poorly misunderstood and not recognized illness, that we don't always take it as seriously as we should. But if we had cancer or something that was more recognized and we were laid out like that because of our illness, we wouldn't hesitate to lean on the people around us in those moments and be like, I need you to be here just 100% for me right now. I need you to help me. And often when I'm in a crash, I kind of feel like I want to be alone. And it's not so much that I actually want to be alone, because the loneliness in a crash I find can be crushing. You're just trapped in your own body, in your own mind, trying to distract yourself. But having other people around can be draining, just having to devote any attention to them, having to even listen to what some story they might want to tell you, because it's hard for people to get that we just can't manage that. Ultimately, I do want to have people around, but I would need them. If I could go back, I would do a better job of helping them understand that in those moments, it has to be 100% about me. I know it sounds terrible and selfish, but that's just the reality of what it is. Like I can't be there for you in any way at all. And to understand that there are different things that drain me, like sound drains me. So if you're being noisy and making a lot of racket, that's really going to be difficult for me. That I'm sensitive to lights, to smells, to all sorts of things. Someone I talked to recently described it like they didn't have a barrier between them and the outside world. And that's very much how it felt for me. I had no filter. I couldn't keep that stuff out. I'd love for someone to be able to just spend some quiet, still time with me, maybe lay down next to me and watch a TV show, just to have that company and that comfort, at least in some small doses, I think could be really amazing. And I think people in these moments really struggle to know what to say to someone who is in a health crash or someone who's in a state like this. And that's understandable. And for me, I know what I would want to hear from the people around me are things like, I'm sorry this is happening to you. I can't imagine what this must be like. It's things like, it's understandable if you're struggling. Anybody in your position would be struggling right now. You are going through hell. Cut yourself some slack and let me know how I can help. I'd love for people to remind me that this is temporary, that I've been here before. I've gotten through this before. They've always passed, and it will pass again this time. Just really simple questions like, how can I help? Can go a really long way. And if I were to think of things that aren't so helpful for people to say, and they're well-intentioned, and I get why people say them, but people say things like, oh, I really hope you're feeling better today, or are you feeling better today? Because these types of statements and sentiments have a desired response. So if you're not feeling better and someone says, I hope you're feeling better today, or are you feeling better today? It's this feeling like I'm letting them down, because I really want to give them good news. I really want to give them something positive and optimistic. But if I'm still stuck in hell, it just adds to my hell to have to be like, no, today's still shit. So again, just a simple flip on that was instead just to ask, how are you doing today? And then there's no desired or implied response. It's just a nice, neutral, open-ended question, and you can come back with whatever is your truth in that moment. And then when this crash is done, I would switch the focus onto them, because it can't be all about me forever. When I have the energy, when I have the ability, I would first off take the time to thank them for their help and their support while I was going through this. And I would be specific with that thanks. Like when you just sat next to me quietly and watched that TV show, it just did such a great thing for me. It helped with my loneliness, and I could just feel your love, and it was so great having you close to me. Or when you took the time to prepare and bring me meals, or keep checking if I needed more water. Those were just really great things for me, and I appreciate it. Thank you. So that's it. That's my experience with health crashes. And I've thought about doing this video for a very long time, and the reason that I haven't until now is just that I wish I had better answers for people. I wish I had some magical strategy to get you out of them faster and make them less severe. But the reason I decided to do this is I'm coming to appreciate, the more videos I put out, that just by sharing our experience and getting the conversation going can be a really helpful thing. And just maybe, if there's someone in your life that you are trying to get to understand what health crashes are like, maybe if my experience sounds something like yours, showing them this video might be helpful. Because I don't know about you, but I definitely find that in my life, I can tell the people close to me things until I'm blue in the face, and they don't seem to hear it, but they hear it from somebody else, and all of a sudden it's like a light bulb goes off and they finally get it. So that's it. There is my experience with health crashes. I would really love to hear about your experience in the comments. If you have things that work for you, or just ways that you deal with the people around you, or how you explain it to people. I think that this is a really great opportunity to just share our stories and our information and figure out how to better manage these together. So whatever you're facing, I'm sending my love and my support to you. I know things can be incredibly challenging, but hang in there. You have got it within you to get past this, and good for you for watching videos like this one and trying to learn and get support and find what you need to get through this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.